Showtime is here, no time to fear. Carell is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Carell is the one that you need to know. Now it's showtime.
He's the most winningest president in history. Or is he? We're going to talk about that. And if you're rich, should your children also be rich? We're going to talk about that and so much more on today's show. So don't go anywhere. Stay here.
Now it's showtime.
It is the Carell Show. I am Carell. So very glad you are joining me on this marvelous Tuesday, June 2nd. All right, we got a lot to talk about today. Let's talk. And I'm going to talk with the chatters in the chat room at youtube.com/reallycarell. I'm going to address some of your comments and other things out there. So we've got a lot going on, and that's marvelous. All right, before we get into the orange imp and, you know, Iran and Israel and blah, blah, blah. I went to lunch yesterday with Sherry and Jeannie. And we were having a conversation. And somehow it turned to rich people. And Warren Buffett and people like that, you know, rich people. And Bill Gates. And they mentioned about how a lot of them are now not setting up their children. Or they're only giving their children, like I think Warren Buffett said, $100,000, whatever. You know, some pittance. And I took great issue with that. And I wanted to see your comments about that in the chat room or down below under the video. You know, if you don't comment under the video, we don't get engagement. I mean, we got to get these numbers up, kid. I'm not doing this. This is a hobby, okay? So come on, let's get these numbers up. Comment under the video and interact with each other and, you know, follow me, like, subscribe, all of that at youtube.com/reallycarell. All of you patrons. I was going to do a patron chat this weekend, but I'm going to be in Long Beach for my aorta scan, which I'm scared about this year for some reason. But we'll do a patron chat next week. But anyway, so I truly believe. Now, there's a couple issues going on here. I've been reading stories about Gen Z and Gen Y and Gen Alpha and even some of Gen X complaining that boomers won't die. And I mean, I'm paraphrasing that, but they're saying we won't move out of our big houses. We won't give away our wealth to the kids. We're hoarding it. We're keeping our wealth and we're keeping our big houses. And a lot of us are keeping our jobs. And so the young people are like, we can't get a job because too many boomers are keeping their job. We can't buy houses because too many boomers are keeping their houses. And we don't have any money because too many boomers are keeping their money. So we'll address that, but let's start with the mega wealthy and the responsibility to the children. Now, first of all, I agree with children who say, you brought me in this world. I had no say in that matter. I'm glad I'm here, but I'm your responsibility when it comes to parents. And so if your parents are wealthy, I feel, and I'd like to hear about you. I love my new background, by the way. It's just Vegas, being Vegas. I got rid of the studio for a while. Just Vegas, just window to the world. A live shot of Las Vegas. It is live. You can see people walking down. Where are they? Over there. Watch to my lower right, and people be walking back and forth. It's a live shot of the Paris and Bellagio and everything like that. So I feel if you're mega wealthy, your kids are mega wealthy. And I don't want to hear about this. No, I'm going to teach them the value of $1. And no, I'm going to... Bullshit. If you are worth a fortune and you don't completely set up your children, you are bad friggin' parents. Okay? Because if you're rich, they should be rich. Well, why? What did they do? They came out of your womb. They are a byproduct of your sperm. They are a product of your vanity that you needed to reproduce yourself. So you have. And now they're your responsibility for the rest of their lives, not just yours. Parents seem to think the responsibility of the children ended at 18. Nope. They are your responsibility for your entire life and their entire life. And it is part of your duty to set them up if you can. If you can buy them a house, buy them a house. If you can buy them a car, buy them a car. If you have millions of dollars, give them millions of dollars. This notion that parents would be wealthy and make their kids suffer or struggle, that is the most stupid, ludicrous, ridiculous. Because guess what? Your kids can still have morals and values if they have access to money. The notion that if you give your kids money, they're not going to have morals and values means that you're failing as a parent. Are you hearing me, Warren Buffett? Bill Gates?
If you're
The
not
notion
visiting
that
reallycorel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast, videos, and the blog, including recipes at reallycorel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, and no time to fear. Corel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Corel is the one that you need to know.
You know, I hear the argument that people should learn what it's like to struggle, and that way they're better human beings. Look, I saw Elizabeth Taylor on Larry King Live, a snippet on social media about AIDS, and she was giving us full-blown Liz. She was like, Larry, I was asked to host a dinner for APLA because no one cared about the gays, the homosexuals with AIDS. No one wanted to be involved, Larry. And Larry, without homosexuals, there would be no art. There would be no literature. There would be no Broadway, no film, no television, Larry. The homosexuals, they are the ones, Larry. Well, she's right. She's not wrong. But the reasoning behind that was escaping her. And what that really is tortured people tend to create the best art. And it's just the truth. The more adversity you have faced, the better you are as an artist. All artists should suffer. I agree. And I don't necessarily mean financially. You could be rich but be gay and still have adversity. You could be rich but be black and still have adversity. You can be. So I'm just saying that adversity often breeds great art. Great songs come from heartbreak. Great movies come from, really heart-wrenching stories. Adversity makes for great art. And the gays, we have suffered. But the notion that every child should have to suffer so they learn about life comes from poor people. Okay? Now, Bette Midler has a great line in The Rose. And that line is, someone spreading the rumor that being rich is a drag, but whoever's spreading that rumor is dirt-ass broke. Children of rich people can be good people. The notion that you have to go hungry or to be in tune with that is wrong. Because if you're wealthy, you can teach your children about adversity. If you're wealthy, you can make sure your children volunteer at food banks. You can make sure they're involved in nonprofits or NGOs. I know many, many rich kids that are out saving the world, joining the Peace Corps, doing work in Africa. Being wealthy and being a good person are not at odds with each other. Okay, and I know a lot of people think that they are. They're not. You can be wealthy and still be a good person. It just depends on the upbringing. But so people say, well, these children of rich people are entitled. Yes, they are entitled. And that pisses you off. That's why you don't agree with it. Because it pisses you off because your parents didn't leave you a fortune. It pisses you off because you had to struggle. And they didn't. No one should have to struggle. No child should ever be hungry. No child should ever be homeless. No child should be in a home where the mother and the father, or the mother or just the father, if it's a single family home, doesn't love them and support them. No child should be emotionally alienated from their parents because of being different or being gay or being whatever. No child should face adversity. Adversity does not make better adults. It makes bitter adults. So no one should have to struggle. Struggling does not mean you are a better person. I know plenty of people that are great people that never worried about a paycheck, that never worried about food in the refrigerator, that never worried about their home or being homeless. I know many, many, many people that didn't grow up like I did, but are great people. My friend Emily Johnson, she's one of the best people I know. She didn't worry about food growing up. They were middle class to upper middle class. They weren't rich. And yes, her parents helped her with a down payment and all that other stuff. That doesn't mean she's a bad person. So we've got to get it out of our minds that if you grow up with money, you're in some way a brat. No, that's on the parents. That's because the parents are bad people. Children are reflections of you. If you're a good rich person, then your kids will be a good rich person. The Amazon widow, not widow, I wish she was a widow. The Amazon ex, well, I forget her name, but she's giving away billions of dollars. Her children would be great. They'd be rich, but they'd be great because they would learn you have to help and you have to give back. If you have money, you must give back because she's a good person. So I fully believe that your kids are your responsibility. And that includes financially. If they're in their 30s and fall on hard times, then it's up to you to help. They're your kids. You know, if more parents felt that way, we wouldn't need such social programs that we have because they would turn to family. I know families that are wealthy that do not share their wealth. My friend Karen is one of them. Her son is a multimillionaire. Multi-millionaire. Does Karen have $1 million? No. Would she ever ask her son for money? No. That's how they are. I don't get that. If I were a millionaire child, my mother would have a mansion. That's just all there is to it. So I believe, and you can disagree with me, and that's okay, and you can raise your kids the way that you want to raise them. That's on you. I believe that if you have wealth as a parent, that you need to pass that wealth on to your kids. You want to put conditions on it, great. You want to put it in a trust fund and only give them $200,000 a year or $100,000 a year if you're a millionaire, that's fine. You don't have to give them a huge lump sum, but they should be cared for. And yes, they should have to work, although why? If you're wealthy, why should your kids have to work? I know you guys don't like these questions. I know you don't like the answers. If you're wealthy, why should your kid have to work? Why can't they just pursue their passions? If it's art or literature or computer coding or whatever it is, why shouldn't they be able to pursue their passions? I think it's cheap. I really think it's cheap when a rich parent, just alienates their child and doesn't give them any money. Alexa, shut up. Computer, shut up. God, I hate when AI just starts talking to me. So yeah, I didn't want this to be a full-blown topic, but and it's got the chat room on fire. People have very big opinions on this. They have very, very big opinions. And a lot of the people are saying, well, the kids don't do those good things you talk about. Well, that's the parents' fault. That's not the kids' fault. Kids are like dogs. They do what you train them to do. Okay, that's the way it is. My mother and father would have made me a good person whether they were wealthy or not, because they were good people. And I love millionaires and billionaires that know the value of a dollar. You don't have to be poor to know the value of a dollar. Believe it or not, Donald Trump once said something to Ivanka, the daughter, that I thought was great. And I can't believe I am giving Donald Trump credit for saying something great. One time they were walking into Trump Tower in New York, and there was a homeless person that they had to go around. And this was when Donald was going through a bankruptcy. And the daughter was young, and she made some comment about the homeless person, like, ugh, you know? And Donald said, be careful. Right now, he might have access to more liquid cash than we do. So you never know who you're stepping over. Now, that was profound, because here's this guy walking into a tower with his name on it, saying, well, that person might have access to more cash than we do right now. You never know. You can teach the value of a dollar, charity, empathy. These are not things that just come from being broke. I'm not an empath because I'm poor. Believe me, I want to be rich before I die. It's a goal. And trust me, I won't turn into some big asshole. I will give. If I were Oprah, I would spend every day figuring out what more I can do for others. How can I help others today? What dogs can I rescue? What shelters can I fund? What animal hospital can I set up a fund at so people like me that need CT scans on their animals and may not have the money don't have to pay? How can I do that? That's what my days would be spent doing. Now, granted, if you're rich and your grandparents were rich and your children are rich, yeah, you do live in some kind of a little bubble. It's true, you do. But I'm not going to condemn that and say it's wrong. No, I don't believe there should be billionaires. Okay, I do not. I think we should take their money. But I'm not talking about billionaires, even though Bezos and all those. I'm talking about if you're a parent and let's say you have $2, $3, $4 million. Your kids should not have to worry about money. They should have to worry about being good people. They should have to worry about learning a trade or going into a job that they are passionate about, or how to be entrepreneurs. They should have to learn about humanity. They should have to go on, trips where they actually learn things about civilizations and they should have to go, help impoverished people. I don't say they should be raised to be one of these rich kids that look at poor people and, ugh. No. Somewhere along the lines, we accepted that a large portion of humans are assholes. I thought about that last night. I was watching some show, and the show was basically live footage that they captured from webcams. And there's 8 seasons of a show that has robbery after robbery after robbery of convenience stores and gas stations. I saw hundreds last night. And I thought to myself, humans are assholes. I know they're desperate. I know they need help. But what makes them think they can walk into a convenience store with a weapon, terrorize the person behind the counter just for a drawer full of cash? Those are assholes. Those are bad people. I don't care how desperate they are. I did see one where the guy behind the counter pulled a gun on the robber, and the robber threw down his gun, got on his knees, and started praying and said, please forgive me. My family is broke. We have no food. We are living in the street. I didn't want to do this. Please don't kill me. You know what the store owner did? He went into the cash drawer and gave the robber $40 cash. I thought, wow, that's a good person. So I watched this show of people that get pulled over by cops and shoot the cop. Why? Because they had some drugs in the car or something. And I thought to myself, historically humans are assholes. A large percentage of humans. And they're going to be assholes whether they're rich or poor. Okay? They're just going to be. Because it seems to me, and what MAGA and Trump has shown us, is there's a larger portion of humans that are assholes than we really thought. We wanted to believe a majority of people are good. And now we see that that's maybe 50-50 or maybe even 30-70. 30 good, 70 bad. Well, they're going to be bad if they're poor or rich. And so don't equate bad people and money. An asshole with money is going to be an asshole if he's broke. And a broke asshole is still going to be an asshole if he gets rich. It's the good people. So if your children are good people, if you raise them right, even if you're wealthy, they're going to be good people. I just think that if a parent has wealth and resources, the children are entitled to it. I do. I really do. Children shouldn't have to go through hell struggling, Right. Granny's in the chat room. She says, I have 2 sons, same growing up. One is an entitled jerk, even though I don't have much, and the other is given and caring. Exactly. It's really the person that you're raising. And you can raise them as right as can be, and they can still turn out badly. Okay, many a good parent has raised a killer. I watch those shows. My Child the Murderer. I've watched 5 seasons of that show. My Child the Murderer. Who wants to raise a murderer? But they do. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm reading the chat room here.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
All right, be nice in the chat room. I've caused arguments. I didn't know this. See, this is a divisive topic. This really is a divisive topic. And I get both sides of the equation. I do. Rachel Mira in the chat room, I get everything she is saying. And there is value and weight to everything she is saying. And what she is saying is, when you get to $1 million or $1 billion, you sort of lose your mind, basically. And kids that grow up privileged end up growing up often to be assholes and entitled. Well, she's right. But that's not because of the kids or the money. It's because of the parents. Okay? It's because of the parents. Look at Michael Jackson's children. They are filthy rich. Filthy rich. They stay out of public view. Okay? They're not out making headlines every day. All 3 of them are involved in many, many, many charities. Okay? They're very wonderful to their grandparents. And they basically are just trying to be good human beings. Are they a little messy? Sure. Look how they were raised. But they are good people. I've met them. I've met Paris several times. She's a nice girl. You'd never know she was worth, $400 million. So Michael raised them to love, to accept, to be aware that the world needs help, that, everything's not just all rosy for everybody out there. He raised them right, believe it or not, as right as he could, being who he was. So I agree with Rachel. In today's world, a lot of rich kids are entitled a-holes. I agree. But that's because of their parents, not because of the money. It's too easy to blame money. We blame money for a lot of stuff, and it's too easy to blame the money. I always say a poor a-hole is going to be a rich a-hole. They're not going to change. Just like a poor, empathetic, caring, giving human being is going to be the same rich. Oprah tries. She does. She tries to still educate people, get people to read. She gives away a lot of money to charities. She tries to empower young authors, young entrepreneurs. She tries. Okay, she does. And there's a lot of rich people that we never even hear about, the mega rich. We don't know all of their names. There's 800 of the billionaires. We don't know all their names. They stay in the background. And they just enjoy their life and do good things with their money. It's not money that ruins a kid. It's parents. and these, social media. So I'd love your comments below. How do you feel about it? Do you think if you, as a parent, have money, that you have an obligation to set your kids up? Yes or no? It's pretty simple. If you have funds and you can buy your kids a house, or you can buy your kids a car, or you can give them enough money for 2 years for them to go off and explore the world, whatever, do you feel, and when you die, because I know some rich people, when they die, they give all their money to charity. They don't give it to their kids. We've all seen those stories. I think that's so wrong. I do. Now, maybe they know their kids better than I do, but you know what I'm saying. I think it's wrong. So I'd love to hear your comments. I am so glad that in the chat room, you are all, having this debate. I like to see all that interaction. But again, be nice to each other in there, okay? Expressing an opinion that someone doesn't agree with doesn't make you a villain, okay? Especially on this topic. Because ultimately it is up to you, the parent, Look, if I am jealous. I'll be the first to say, I see my friends, and I have friends, whose parents have bought them a house, whose parents have left them in their will $200,000, $500,000, $1 million. And I'm very jealous about that. Daniel Charleston, who died of a ketamine overdose, his mother inherited the company from the father that Daniel ran. They have 16 parcels of land in the port of Los Angeles. It's worth millions of dollars, those parcels. When Daniel died, on paper, he was a millionaire. And he left it all to Jack. And that bothers me. He could have left some to me. I was his best friend. And it bothers me because he didn't think he was going to die. He was 34. And if my parents had had resources, they would have left them to me, not to some charity or whatever. So I just think, and then we go to what Gen X, Y, Z, and Alpha are saying, that baby boomers are hoarding their wealth. They're not sharing their wealth. They're not giving it to the younger generations. They're keeping their bigger homes, even though they're empty nesters. And they could live in a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom. Instead, they're still living in their 3, 4, 5-bedroom houses. And so the younger people don't have the properties to buy because the older people, well, look, we got to live, right? And the notion that boomers should just die so young people can have opportunity, that's ridiculous. Because we boomers, we had parents. They had houses. They had jobs. We had to make our own. And that's what young people today don't understand. They want to inherit. It's like, wait a minute. We had to make our own companies. IBM didn't always exist. Cisco didn't always exist. Apple didn't always exist. Your corner stores, Walmart, Target, your regular little mom and pops, they weren't always there. Someone created them. You want a job? Go create it. You can't get hired somewhere? Go create your job. I had to. I'm in an industry that doesn't hand out jobs. There is no one in radio, television, or film sitting around waiting for Carell. Just like there was nobody last year sitting around waiting for Connor Story or Hudson Williams from Heated Rivalry. And then they burst on the scene in this show. Everybody loved them. And now they are both so busy doing projects. They created their own entry by their performances, by trying, by putting themselves out there. I don't want to hear young people say, well, there just aren't any jobs. Create them. There's all kinds of new industries happening. Find a way. When desktop publishing came...
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carellcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Carellcast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carell Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Carell Cast. Driving you home or driving you crazy.
Now it's your time.
All right. I did not plan on talking about that for a half an hour. I really didn't, but it spurred like a ton of conversation in the chat room. You know, parents do their best. Some parents fail, and yet their kids turn out great. And the parents are horrible. In fact, sometimes the more horrible the child or the parent, the better the kid turns out. And then there's other cases where the parents are great, but the kids turn out to be a-holes. I mean, you do your best. There's no manual. You try your best. Whatever, it's a crapshoot. Kids do have free will, and they turn out the way they turn out. And a great parent can raise them. I do watch a show called My Child the Murderer. All the parents miss signs, by the way. I'll just tell you that. Everyone I see. I've seen 5 seasons now, and everyone says, well, you know, they did kill a cat once, or they did, you know, try to burn down that, you know. So it's like you didn't want to see the signs, honey. Your kid was a psycho. But you can be a great... Look at my mom. My mom and dad raised me and my sister the same way. And yet my sister left home at 14 years old. She couldn't wait to get out of the house. She married someone at 15 years old so she could get out of the house. She was a drug addict, an alcoholic, never had a career. My sister never had a career. She's a horticulturalist and went to college for it, but she's never stayed at the same job for 5 years, 10 years. She's never had a job for 5 or 10 years. She worked so little throughout her life that she has to collect her dead spouse's Social Security because she never put into it. And then there's me. You know, tried to excel, tried to be kind to everyone. I wasn't a drug addict. I was dependent on opiates for about 15 years, but those were legally prescribed. Didn't make it any better. I'm not saying I'm better than my sister because she did illegal drugs and I did opiates, but you know, I never killed my drug dealer and, you know, that sort of thing. I'm not saying she killed her drug dealer. I'm just saying, you know what I mean. So it's a crapshoot. It is. But money is often blamed for people being evil. Elon Musk is evil, not because he's wealthy and not because of what he does or does not do with his wealth. He is evil because of his worldview, because of how he views people, because of how he treats people, including his children. The money only facilitates him being an asshole, but he's still an asshole. You see what I'm saying? Let's not always blame money for humans being good or bad. Ultimately, every human has the choice. Rich people wake up every day with a choice. What am I going to do today with my life and with my money? They make that choice. Okay? So, anyway. All right. Thank you all for having a great chat in the chat room about it. What did someone comment? I need to hear that after friends opining they would never go watch Michael because of what they've heard. Michael Jackson never molested children. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Show me the absolute proof that Michael Jackson molested children. Because if he did, he would have been a serial molester. Not just 2 kids, not just 3. Over the course of his life, there'd be hundreds. Show me those hundreds of children. The Epstein files don't just have 1 victim or 2 victims. They have hundreds of victims. Because people like Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, they don't stop at 1 or 2. They can't. Okay? So Michael Jackson was a good person. I know. I've met him multiple times. He never molested children, ever. Was he quirky? Yes, he was very quirky. He was famous since he was 7 years old. He had to endure a life that you and I cannot even imagine. So was he weird? Sure. Was he a child molester? No, he was not. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Prove me wrong. Well, what about the allegations from so-and-so? Allegations that have been proven to be false. In sworn depositions, these kids say, oh, he started attacking, molesting me in the train station at Neverland. And you look at the date that the kid said this happened, and the train station wasn't even built. If you go through the actual allegations, they don't hold up.
If you're not visiting reallycorrell.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast videos and the blog, including recipes, at reallycorrell.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Corel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Corel is the one that you need to know.
I mean, look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a jerk when he was broke, and he's a jerk when he got rich. Okay? Michael Jackson was raised by one of the most evil men in the world, Joe Jackson. He was just an evil, horrible man. And yet, what did he want to spend his life doing? Helping children, helping climate change. He was really big on climate change, holding benefit concerts, giving away millions and millions and millions of dollars, bringing hundreds of Make-A-Wish Foundation kids to Neverland Ranch. The man did more to help children and the planet than any of us. And we think he did it because he wanted to screw them. Humans suck. He did not screw children. He didn't do it. It wasn't what was in his heart. I know. So, and it's never been proven that he did. 2 not guilty verdicts in court. Settlements that he didn't want to settle, but his insurance company did. He didn't do it. And he could have done it without us knowing. He was that rich. He could have gone to Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Russia. He could have gone to so many places where parents would have gladly given or sold their 12 and 13-year-olds to him. Baka-bazi in Pakistan exists today, and we allow it. Where a 14-year-old boy is sold to an older man and becomes his house slave and his sex slave. It's called baka-bazi, and they do it to this day. And they don't even think they're gay, by the way. The men that buy the 14-year-old boys, they don't think they're gay. When my friend Eric was stationed in Afghanistan on Shower Thursday, they would hear the screams of 14 and 15-year-old boys being raped in the showers, and they couldn't go stop it. The U.S. military told them, do not interfere. It's cultural. You want to go after something? Go after Baka-bazi. Go after the Pakistanis. Leave Michael Jackson alone. So I thought about last night about Donald Trump, because someone said, well, I bet you're happy. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, his $1.8 billion fund has now been put on hold, and his name has to be taken off the Kennedy Center. And there's a series of the IRS lawsuit is going to be reopened. The ballroom is up in the air. There's a series of losses that he has undergone. Okay? He's not winning. He's certainly not winning in Iran. Iran has proven to be a formidable opponent to Donald Trump, the Ayatollah, and Iran. It's been 8 weeks, and the greatest fighting country in the world, the United States, hasn't been able to open the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians are winning. And Donald Trump is losing a lot. A lot. His approval rating's 36%, the lowest in his entire 2 terms, one of the lowest of any seated president in history. And I thought about this, and someone said, I bet you're happy. And I thought, no, I'm not happy. And they said, well, why aren't you happy? He's losing on so many counts. And I go, because we're not winning. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, look, I don't really fucking care who's president. I don't. What I care about is, how are we, the people, doing? How are we doing? And are we winning right now? No, only the wealthy. There's this guy at the park. He's heavily invested in the stock market. And he took great pride in telling us that he's made $600,000 this year, and he's going to dump $100,000 into the Starlink IPO and all of that. And I thought, well, whoop-de fucking do. Good for you. And truly good for him. But, and he's a Trumper, by the way. So is he winning right now? Sure, he is. But are the rest of us, if we haven't made $600,000 this year, are we winning? No, we're not. We're not winning. And that's what I care about. I agree with you, Granny, in the chat room. How do 36% of people agree with Donald Trump? I don't. And that number goes up for Republicans. 78% of Republicans think he's doing a great job. There's just so many Democrats and independents that think he's not, that it pulls that number down. But in terms of Republicans, 78% think he's doing a good job. I don't even know how that is possible. But Donald Trump losing is not good for America. Okay, it's not. And he is making us fail. Our social safety net programs are failing. Everything's failing. Every governmental agency under Donald Trump is failing. The FBI is failing. The Department of Homeland Security is failing. ICE is failing. Department of Social Services, he's dismantling the Department of Education. We're not winning, you and I. And so the notion that liberals would be happy because Donald Trump is losing, that just means that people don't know anything about what it means to be a liberal or a progressive. And I'm a socialist now. I am a democratic socialist. I am. And people don't understand what that means. It means you care about everybody, even the people that don't vote your way. You care about them. You don't want them to be hungry. You don't want them to be lining up for food banks. You don't want them to be scraping together money check to check. You don't want them to be losing their homes or to pay too much for electricity or gas. You don't want them to not be able to afford groceries or not be able to afford fuel. That's not what you want. You want them to thrive because they're Americans and you're an American too, and you want Americans to thrive. That's what it means to be a progressive and a liberal. When you want all of the country to thrive, not just some. When you want everyone to have equal opportunity, not just some. People, if MAGA fully understood what it meant to be a liberal, they would have no problems with us. And somehow that message gets lost. Pete Buttigieg is very good at getting that message out there. And I think James Tallarico is very good at getting that message out there. That somehow they've painted liberal or progressive. Look, I put the three scariest words together. I'm a woke gay vegan. I mean, come on, I want to make a t-shirt. Woke gay vegan. I swear to God, because it sends terror into MAGA. But what does that mean to be a woke gay vegan? Why would that anger MAGA? What does it mean to be woke? To mean that you care about others? You care about trans children and trans adults? You care about LGBTQ people, black people, immigrants? You care about their life, not just their immigration status? You care about women and their right to choose? What does it really mean to be woke? To not be asleep. To be coherent. To be cognizant. There is nothing wrong with being woke. To believe in diversity and equity and inclusion. To believe in the Constitution and the principles laid out therein. That's what it means to be woke. As for being gay, I'm not sure what it means anymore. I haven't been gay in a while. If we're going by sex. And being a vegan. Why do people get so mad at me for being a vegan? I am doing what is right for the planet and for the human body. Why does that anger people? Why does it make people so mad when I say I'm vegan? And they get mad. They get defensive. They get all... Why? I'm the one doing the right thing. The carnivores are doing the bad things, but they're the ones that get mad at vegans. And that explains MAGA and liberals right there. Liberals are like vegans. They're doing the right thing for themselves and the planet and society. And MAGA are the carnivores. They hate them for no other reason than they think they're trying to take away their meat. It's a perfect analogy. And so I don't win when Donald Trump loses. Okay, I don't. Nobody does. The man is the United States president. We need him to have victories. We just need him to have victories that affect the people and not just his rich billionaire friends. Look, did we or did we not need a ballroom? I have no problem with the White House building a really grand and glorious ballroom for state dinners and such. I've been to many a country where they have those sort of things. Ireland and the UK, London. They have got some spectacular places there. Well, they have a castle. It's called Windsor Castle or Buckingham, So they've got great places. So I have no problem with the White House having a great ballroom. I have a problem with the way he did it, the grift that's involved in it, and I don't believe its true purpose. But that doesn't mean I'm against a ballroom being built at the White House. I'm not. I just don't think it should be a priority when people are starving. I'm not opposed to some of the things that Trump comes up with. I'm just opposed of how he implements them. Look, I don't want Iran to have nuclear material, but it didn't affect my life. It only affected Israel. So I believe we should have continued on with the sanctions that Barack Obama did and the things that Joe Biden did and not launch a war. But I certainly don't think we should just turn our back on Iran having nuclear material, since we know they fund Hamas and Hezbollah, and those people would like to take a suitcase nuke into New York. So yeah, we got to keep track of whether terrorists can get nuclear weapons or not. Yes. I'm a liberal, and I don't think we should just let everybody have nuclear weapons willy-nilly when it comes to the small ones. Every country that wants a bomb, I don't care. We have one. Iran has, Israel has them, and the UK has them, and Russia has them, and South Korea has them, and North Korea is getting them. And, I don't care about those. I care about nuclear material that can be made into suitcase weapons, because that's what terrorists would use to set it off on the strip or something, So, yeah, I care about that. I just don't agree with the way he went through it. I agree our immigration system is broken, but he's not winning with what he's doing, and that's not a win for America. A win for America would be to reinvent our immigration system from the ground up. Issue green cards faster, okay? Go more digital. Get people in front of judges in days, not years. So, yeah. We do need to fix immigration, just not the way that he's doing it, building walls and arresting people. That's not the way to fix it. The system needs to be modernized. People need to spend less time in the immigration system. 9 years from the issuance of a green card until you can work or take a citizen test? No, that's no. Just no. So, do I agree with Trump that immigration is broken? Yes, I thought it was broken under Biden. It's in the Declaration of Independence. Our founders had a beef with King George about the immigration system being broken. It's never truly been fixed. Just like the Civil War from 1861 never truly ended. We have never addressed the real issues facing this country. Immigration was a very real issue in 1776 and in 2026, and we haven't fixed it. Why? Because it being broken makes people billions of dollars. That's why. Donald Trump doesn't like to acknowledge that his friends make money from a broken immigration system, but they do. And that's why it's never been fixed properly. That's just the way that is. So, and immigration truly is a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter. It's documents. It's paperwork. It's not criminal. It's a court. Court should be handling immigration, not ICE, not the feds. Now, if you're an immigrant and you're breaking the law, you are crossing the border illegally in the back of a truck or something, well, then there's some questions there. But if you're just someone that wants to come to this country and you're trying to be a refugee or seek asylum or whatever, that's for the courts. Green cards, all of that, it's for the courts. It's not for ICE. It's not for criminal agents. It's a civil matter. So Donald Trump losing does not mean progressives win. Okay? Because our country is still in a terrible, terrible state. That's not a win for anybody. Okay? It's just not. And Democrats, I think Democrats have let it happen. I think they have sat by and let the country go to hell so they could campaign on how the country has gone to hell. And that's wrong. And I believe that's part of what they've done. And it's wrong. You know? You shouldn't let a country go to hell just so you can then say, oh, we can fix it, elect us. No. You should make it the best you can every day.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
All right. Yes, now is not the time to be building the ballroom. Okay, it's not. I'm not saying the White House doesn't need one. And the money could always go somewhere else. It could always go to fund PBS or go to food stamps or whatever. We always in government have to make a choice what we're going to fund here, what we're going to fund there. And ultimately, it's like me this month. Yesterday, I sat down at my spreadsheet and paid all my bills. But when I was getting low on the bank account, I had to decide which credit cards are going to get full payments and which ones are going to get half payments. It kills me that I have a very large amount of credit card debt and a second mortgage. It kills me. I'm in debt the price of a very nice car. Well, let me rephrase. Not a Rivian, which is $100,000. I'm in debt for a mid-sized sedan. Are those $60,000? Whatever car is $60,000, a Mercedes. I am in debt, a Mercedes. Now, granted, I own my house outright, so the second mortgage of $44,000, so what? When I sell the house, it gets paid. But the credit card debt, I am $14,000 in credit card debt. And where did a lot of that come from? $2,300 for a dental exam for Ember, $2,600 for the car, $2,400 for this, $2,200 for that, $2,600 for a new computer, $1,100 for an iPad for the show. I haven't even bought a new camera yet that I need for the show. So a lot of that debt, the credit card debt, a lot of that is the show or medical expenses for my dog or for me. My copay on MRIs has gone up it's $250 for each MRI. And my neurologist every year orders brain, C-spine, and L-spine. That's $750 copay. They won't count it as one MRI. They count it as 3. They could count it as 1, but they don't. So $750 copay. That goes on a credit card. I hate that I'm in that amount of debt. But that being said, I'm grateful that I could sit there and pay it. And yes, that meant that this person gets paid this month and this just gets a minimum payment this month. Well, that's government. It's how government works. And a Democratic president like Obama could have raised money privately to build a ballroom. I am not opposed to that. Everyone thinks as a liberal I'm opposed to his ballroom. I'm not. I'm opposed for the timing. We don't have the money right now. And I'm opposed to the fact that there's grift, that it's not what he says it's about. I'm really angry he tore down the East Wing. The White House looks like a meth family moved in from an aerial view, if you look. It truly does. There's this WWE shit in the back lawn, which looks like trailer trash stuff. There's the debris of the East Wing. It really looks like a meth family moved in. I don't agree with any of that. But that doesn't mean that I rejoice when he fails. His failures are also our failures. His failure in Iran isn't something to campaign on for the Democrats. It's us paying more money for gas and food. You know, That's what his failure in Iran is. And for the world, his failure to end Ukraine means that 12 people died last night. I had to email Scott and make sure he was okay. He is. 12 people died yesterday in Ukraine as Russia once again pummeled it with drones and missiles. That's a failure. It's a failure of Donald Trump. He said he'd end it day one. Well, that hasn't happened. I don't rejoice in that failure because people are dying. So Trump is losing a lot. The courts are now finally acting like courts and standing up to him. Public opinion is turning against him. Only the diehard maggots are still supporting him. And that's this 36%. They're a very vocal 36%. They truly are. But they're a minority. But that doesn't mean we're winning. Democrats need to be working harder now than ever before to try to shore up the damage. But they're not. They're sitting by, letting it happen, and campaigning on it. I don't like that. I don't like it. And he's a grifter. And so you can't believe what he says. The ballroom would have been a good idea if it was privately funded and, all this other stuff, but it got approved by Congress, but he's a grifter. So you can't believe what he says. All right. Well, today is Tuesday, June 2nd. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll have a show. Thursday, and we're going to have a This Gay Week. Although it might be Thursday's show because of Scott's schedule. So This Gay Week may not be on Friday. It might be on Thursday. He is in a war area, war-torn Ukraine, so we'll work with his schedule. So we'll see whether it's Thursday's show or Friday's show. But that'll happen. We are going to do a This Gay Week with Scott over in Ukraine. And then I think on Thursdays, if he's Friday, on Thursday, then we will cook because I need to go to Long Beach. I'll be driving to Long Beach on Thursday. So I might have to tape a show for you for Thursday because I might have to get out early. We'll see. If I can leave at 11, then I'll do a show live for you. But if I need to get out earlier to get to Long Beach earlier, then I'll tape a show for you. But we'll see. There'll be a new show Thursday and possibly Friday. So we'll see for all that. Don't forget to follow along, like, and subscribe. If you're a patron at patreon.com/ReallyCarell, thank you. If you're not, please become a patron. I'd like to get it up to $1,300 a month. It's at $1,000 right now. So we could use a lot of $5 and $10 patrons. So go to patreon.com/ReallyCarell. And of course, like and subscribe the videos at youtube.com/ReallyCarell. And I pull it all together at my website, reallycarell.com. All right. So that's what's going on. Big elections in all over today. There's probably primaries where you're at. If there are, please go vote. I'm going to go vote this afternoon. I'm not going to mail it in because of all this weirdness with mail-in ballots. So please go vote. In California, remember, you want a Democratic governor. Vote for Becerra, okay? Just do it. Whether you like him or not, vote for him. And if you're in L.A. and you put Spencer Pratt as the mayor, you're going to get what you deserve. I am Carell. Be who you want to be, so I'm going to hurt you, buddy. We will see you tomorrow, Wednesday. Until then, stay safe and know that I love you. And interact online. Leave comments down below and all of that stuff, okay? All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Steyer. Who's that? I don't know who Steyer is. Is he a Democrat?
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carellcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Carellcast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carellcast on your favorite streaming service.